for our special guest. What is your fake name?
Sarah.
Sarah. Okay, Sarah, why you want to cover your identity for this episode?
Because I guess I have family and friends, and not everyone is fully aware of my story in this regard. So yeah, I just want to keep it private.
You are addicted to?
Lots of things. I was addicted to originally. I started on ice, and then I was on speed. I've used cocaine, ecstasy, but the main thing that I had the addiction for the longest and the hardest thing to get off was heroin.
How many times you went to rehab?
3 times until I've been successful at it the 3rd time.
The 3rd time is, when is that?
2 years ago now.
You're telling me before you go to rehab, you actually have to do a detox program. What's the difference between the detox and the rehab program?
The difference is the detox is where you go to get the drugs out of your system, and then the rehab is where you go to learn life lessons and learn more about yourself, whether that's counselling or whatever systems they have in place at the different rehabs to teach you how to stop using when you want to.
So you went to rehab 3 times?
That's right.
How many times you do the detox?
Just 1 time. The last time I went, 2 years ago, that particular rehab, it was compulsory that you have to do the detox first.
How long is the detox program?
It can be between 1 week to 2 weeks.
First time, the reason you went to rehab?
The first time, and the reason, the first time was maybe quite a few years ago, and I guess I just got to a point where living that life, the daily needing to use, the financial stress of it, just not living the life that I wanted anymore. I had enough, and so I couldn't do it on my own. I kept wanting to stop, and I couldn't, and I needed help. I finally got to a point where I just accepted the help. So I went to, I researched a little bit and Googled, and I found a place online that sounded really good, and so I went in for my first appointment and interview with them, and yeah, they got me in, it was about a month wait, I guess. You have to wait sometimes, and it was about a month wait.
What did you learn from the first time you go to rehab?
The first time, a lot. It was a real shock. I didn't know what to expect from the place, so I was just figuring out exactly what rehab was, and being put out of my comfort zone a lot. Yeah, I guess I just learned a lot more about myself, things that I didn't even know, and why I'm addicted. And
what happened after you come out the first rehab?
I started using within a couple of days of getting out the first time, that quickly, because I just wasn't fully ready. I didn't finish the program, the first one that I've gone into. The program was longer and I left early. I felt like I was right. I talked myself into believing that I was cured and I didn't need it anymore, and I left, and obviously I relapsed almost immediately.
Is it the program is not working? That's why you just relapse so quick again?
No, it's that I left too soon. The program was a longer period of time than what I ended up doing. I left early.
When is the second time you went to the rehab again? What is the distance between?
After I relapsed of being out for just a few days, I straight away got back on the phone to them and let them know what happened, and that I wasn't as good at managing it as I originally thought when I had left, and that I needed to come back, and getting on the waiting list again took me, I think it was about 6 weeks or 8 weeks to get back in the second time. It was a busy period.
So for the first rehab and the second rehab, you went to the same place?
Yes.
For your second rehab, you pretty much just go straight back in. So do you learn anything new this time?
A little bit, but actually the second time I had some confrontations with a few different people that had come there in the period that I'd left, and I didn't get along with them very well at all, and we were always having bad confrontation, and it just distracted me from the experience of what I was really there for, and yeah, I ended up leaving because of these people.
So when you relapse again after you come off from the second time?
Straight away that day.
Wow, okay. So the program not working, or those people making you stress out, that's why you go back for drugs?
Yeah, a little bit, because of leaving when I was so upset, then, and I haven't been out and doing anything. That particular rehab is a fully locked down rehab. I hadn't left anywhere for months or been out anywhere off the property, and so to get out and you're in a bad mood, you're upset, you're angry, I just went back to what I knew, and that was using to numb out my upset, anger.
So when do you go to the rehab the third time?
2 years ago.
And this time it's worked?
I think that I was just in a different place. It had been almost 3 years since my first and second time, so there was a bit of space between, and yeah, just something was different about me, and I was really serious this time, and added to that, the place was much more wonderful and suited to me. The staff were amazing, and just the way the program was run really suited me perfectly. There was a lot of care, and that's what I needed, so that gave me a nice boost to want to succeed and do well and have some confidence in myself.
Can we know which rehab center is this one?
This one's in Bendigo, and it's called Bendigo Bridge. It's a Salvation Army based program, but there is an age limit on that one. You have to be 30 or under, I think it was.
Is rehab cost you any money?
No, there are some that does, some's private, but there's a lot that is government supported, and they all work differently. Some, if you're on Centrelink or government payments, they will take your payment and fully look after you, and you don't have to worry about anything. And if you have rental property or something like that, they pay your rent. There's nothing you have to worry about. If you need to go, it'll be taken care of, so that you're not have to worry about anything. Some just charge you a fee, whether it's $100 a week, and then you get to have the rest of your money. And
are you confident you're not going to relapse after this experience?
As confident as I can be. They say you never, if you have too much confidence, that's a bad thing, because all of a sudden one day something might happen and throw you off, and it's going to happen. You will relapse, so I'm pretty confident, and I know that if I don't keep an eye on myself and how I'm feeling and what's going on around me, that it could happen, but at the same time I don't picture myself in a life of using. The thought of being using and going back to that life really scares me.
What is your worst experience of the whole thing?
I guess when I had my first overdose, that was probably the worst thing and the scariest thing.
How many times you have overdosed before?
3.
What happened on the first one?
The first one, I remember there was me and 2 other people in the apartment. one of them was cooking dinner and the other one was sitting with me talking in the lounge room, and I had the drugs, and then within about 3 seconds I went to stand up from the couch and I said, I'm gonna go have a sleep now, and the next thing I remember is waking up on the floor. It happened very, very quickly. There's no way you can even think or do anything. You don't realise it's happening. You really believe you're just gonna stand up and go to sleep. And
Is it stop you taking drugs?
Did scare me. It was very scary, and I knew that should be what should be making me wake up and stop. But the drive to use and my addiction was so big and so strong that nothing was going to stop me. And at the time as well, I was so depressed and unhappy with my life. I really wasn't too concerned on dying. At the same point as it was scary, thought that you can go when you not even make the decision. It just happened for you like that. At the same time, I wasn't happy either, so it wasn't enough to make me want to stop.
Second overdose. What happened?
The second one was actually the first time when I got out of the rehab, and I used a couple of days later. That was the second time that I overdosed, because I hadn't had anything in my system for so long, and they say that's a really risky time to go back to using drugs if you're using that particular way. You've got to be very careful and have a fraction of what you used to use, because your bodies start to adjust with not having it. So it's like you're using drugs for the first time, almost.
So the second overdose still doesn't scare you enough to completely stop. So what happened to the third overdose?
The third time was the second time that I got out of the same rehab. That was the next time, and that was the very day that I got out.
When you detox all the drugs and then you go straight back in and you're using the same amount of drugs, this is when you start overdosing.
Exactly, and I did use a fraction of what I used to use, but still not less enough.
Are you glad that you're not dead yet?
Yes, because my life's good now. Yeah. If I hadn't have been successful this last time, then I probably would be better off that way. But now that I've got my life together, I'm so glad. And so you just never know what the future is, that things really can get better. You might not think it at the time, but it really can. So sometimes you just got to stick it out and see what the future holds.
So for your family, who knows about your drug addiction problem?
My mum, my brother, and my sister.
What is your mum think about this whole thing?
It used to scare her a lot, and she used to say that she had many, many sleepless nights, crying, just waiting for the day when I'm not going to be able to be brought back, that somebody's not going to be with me to be able to get help for me. I guess just stress and upset that her child is risking their life and just not happy.
Her stress is not good enough to stop you from taking drugs?
No, it upset me, but no, nothing can stop me at that time.
You also have a partner during that time, and he also a user.
Yeah.
Tell me about him and your drugs habit. Do you mind?
No, not at all. When I got with him, I knew that he smoked marijuana casually, but I never knew that he did anything else. And it was maybe 6 months after we'd been dating that he admitted that he'd used heroin and had for a long time. and it was maybe a year after that, and during this time I did nothing. I didn't use any form of drug, and I didn't drink barely ever. And about a year later, when the relationship wasn't going so well, him and some friends, I guess in a way, talked me into it. They really wanted me to join in. They were sick of me always saying no, and it was just that particular day I gave in and I tried some. And I remember them saying that if you smoke it, you can't get addicted. And I remember, obviously, like a lot of people, you hear of heroin and it scares you. Oh my God, I'm not touching that. It's one thing I always said, that's one thing I won't do. But when they're all sitting around using it day after day and nothing's happened to them and they seem fine, you just think, sure, why not? I'll give it a go. But it only takes that one time.
What do you think about the general public have a misconception about drug addict?
I think the main thing is that they all think that everybody is a criminal and everyone either has anger problems or, yeah, looks dirty or whatever, and that's not always the case. Sometimes it could be your next door neighbour or anybody. For me, no one knew that I used and I appeared completely fine. You wouldn't tell unless I told you, so yeah, I guess that's it. I never stole from anyone, I never committed a crime at all. I just lived my own life. It was just that I had the addiction and needed to have a particular thing each day to keep me going, to keep me being able to be active.
So how do you see drug addict?
I feel for them. I can see their struggle and that they just need help. Yeah, and just hope that they get it one day and that they get to that point that they want to change and they do seek out the right professional help and get it.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, sometimes I feel like drug addict is like sometimes it's some sort of sickness, you know, and put them in jail maybe just not the way to solve the problem. You know, they just need slightly different way, you know, to bring them back to the right track. For this topic, what do we want to say about it? Drugs. Kids don't do drugs.
Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs? That's your message?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't really have a personal message. Like what? Oh, maybe if anyone's watching and you do have a problem and you want to change and you don't know how, seek some professional help.